This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
Yo, what's up? Welcome to the K-Gun Report, Season 3, Episode 11. If you can read what my boy, Mr. Brent Thompson, had to say, he says get to cracking. And we agree. We're talking OTAs today. We're talking position battles. We're talking a little bit about Von Miller. Let's go.
This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with.
Hey, well, welcome to Tuesday night, everybody. Welcome. Oh, look at you cracking for him. You're such a good guy. Get the cracking. I'm Swank, your host of the K-Gun Report, and with us we have Mr. Jarrod Reed.
Pandemonium!
Good. That was good. And we got my brother from another mother, who's also Jared's mother, Scott Reed.
Hey!
He's a little preoccupied with his beer. Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about tonight. Got some little stuff going on in the football Bills world with the OTAs. We had some cool pressers today. Mr. Offensive Coordinator himself took the podium, and that was cool. We got some Punt God news. We got some joking, some ribbon. We got some quips, you know. We also got some personal big news about a venue for the Rager that's coming up this year. So,
huge fun news, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you see Mr. Dorsey's presser today, Scott?
You know what? That's probably the one presser I hadn't watched since the presser started. So I'll get to go to someone else on this one. What do you talk about?
I don't know, man. I like that dude's demeanor. He came out. He was very chill. I think everybody was thinking he was not going to be very like vocal or know how to engage with the media. Sal talked about that a little bit on WGR, but he was funny. He was professional. I don't know. I really liked the way he was talking. I'll tell you one thing that I liked a lot. He did not lean into the whole like we're going to be a run first team kind of stupid headline that was running around for a while after he took over. And that was cool. Jarrod, you get any of that?
Yeah, I like the fact that he said, we're going to have some old stuff. We're going to have some new stuff. We're going to go with the flow. We're going to change it if we need to. One thing that stuck out that what he said was the fact that if you're a good coach, you're going to be able to learn to critique yourself and adjust throughout the season, throughout the game, and to be able to take your own criticism and game plan to that. And that's good. That's huge. This Ken Dorsey guy is a quarterback, first of all, in the NCAA, who was one of the best quarterbacks coming out of college. He played with elite athletes, including himself, and he came to the NFL. He had years in the NFL experience. And then he was behind Dayball over there in the Giants for a while. And to see him come and just sit down and talk to the fans, to the podium right there, and the way he carried himself was just, it was exciting. Yeah, he looked like a real human being up there, and he just said what we wanted to hear. And he's excited. And you know that in his pockets, he's got some crazy things that are going to happen with this offense. It's just going to be interesting to see. I don't know if it's going to be run more, run less, but it's his offense. As long as it takes us to the promised land, it's fine.
Who cares? Exactly.
Yep.
I heard he was throwing piss missiles at Stephon Diggs in the wide receiving corps today during practice, so that's pretty cool.
As a quarterback guy, even when I help coach our high school team, you can't help but to go back to your old ways and want to wing that ball as far as you can. As a quarterback, offensive coordinator, he's going to want to just say, hey, go deep. We like throwing to people. That's just the nature of the beast. And I could for sure see him slinging it and getting involved with that offense. It's good to have a quarterback guy as your offensive coordinator.
There seemed to be like a lot of ball busting. I know Gabe Davis did a presser too today, and they were all joking around about how they wanted him up in the booth, like calling plays. And he said during the presser, like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to try it out like on the field and in the box and see what's best for, me and the offense. And then Gabe came out and said, no, man, he's too intense. Like, he's got to be up in the box because, like, he gets wild. And then I think Mitch Morris said it too. It was like the Holy Spirit comes out of him. Like, when he gets excited on the field or when something bad or wrong goes on, like, he lets you hear it and lets you see it, good or bad. And he said, fortunately, none of us have had to see the bad part yet, but nobody's going to want to be on the end of that. Like, it's pretty wild. So,
and that's why up in the booth would be perfect, Swank, because he's got other people that can calm him down. You don't have to address a player face to face. You have that time to relax, reflect, and then breathe. Goose fraba.
Goose fraba?
Goose fraba. But here's, again, listen, this is a different beast here at offensive coordinator. This is a quarterback, like I mentioned earlier, that has played with the best, has been in the league, that has been with Allen on the sidelines his whole career. So I know putting him upstairs where he's away from it all might be beneficial in some way, but he's a player, guys. He might want to be down on the field, taking everything in, getting personnel checks and talking with the players. Another thing that they mentioned that might be he's going to figure it out where he wants to sit, but he has to trust the other guys, the offensive line coaches, the running back coaches. He's got to trust his other coaches to be able to leave and trust them to do their job down on the field. So yep. It's another telling thing. If he's up there, he trusts everybody. If he's down there, he still could trust everybody, but it's just going to be interesting to see.
Well, speaking of trust, man, we have a ton of people that we trust here in the comments tonight. We got Mike
Hell
Voigt,
yeah.
Patrick Hughes, Tom Manwheeler. You guys know him? I think he's a
No,
new guy.
don't.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tom.
Man. We got Paul Rossi, and just right on cue, segue of the night. We started doing this new thing. What did we start doing, Scott?
We always preach about our fandemonium, about the mafia here that follow us at 24/7 Buff Fandemonium. Man, our new site, go check it out if you're from the Finger Lakes area, FLX Mafia. We preach our fans, and the reason why we do this is because of you guys. So we've decided, the three of us, that what better way to not only get you involved in our conversation on the K-Gun Report and Sunday sessions when that's going, but let's throw a little appreciation Sunday. So our first guy that we highlighted with Paul Rossi. And Swank, he's got a few things in common with you. He's a big-time Bruce Smith fan, forever and always, he said.
He's handsome.
He's been an OG with us for a long time. He came to our first regular season Rager, showed up there with his son. And it was, you don't realize how special the moment is to meet you guys in person until we meet you in person. I know whether you're fans of us or friends, whatever you want to call it, we love you guys. And then when we see you guys, we're just as starstruck as you guys are with us. Not saying you're starstruck, but the feelings are mutual, is what I'm saying. That when we get to meet you guys, it's awesome. It's awesome for sure.
Swank, Scott
we
went
love
there.
you, Paul.
Scott, I love it, man. He's got that hubris, right? Like that big. Like, I think part of it is because we just signed our little deal for the Rager this year to be at one of the best breweries around here in the Finger Lakes, Reinvention Brewing, in Shortsville, New York, which is right off the thruway. So for all of our Buffalo friends or anybody who's traveling out to hang, it's right there, man. And also, they're gonna coordinate a release of this super fanatic beer that we got lucky enough to have a can of. It's a cream ale. It's delicious.
It is tasty.
And they're going to be donating part of that to the Shout for a Cause. Help One Foundation is the charity that they're going for that day. Mr. Mark Maddox's charity, friend of the show. And, yeah, man, we're really excited about it. So you can do what Paul Rossi did. Come hang out at the Rager, meet us. Maybe you're starstruck. I know Scott had carpal tunnel because he was signing so many autographs that night.
That's what it was.
It's going to be a good time, man.
It was all that time practicing my autographs. Maybe I was starstruck with myself. I don't know.
Well, we're going to be doing this for the Sundays leading up to the season. And I know we probably only got 10 or 12 more weeks before that happens, but there are a lot of OGs that we want to definitely show our love for. So if you're not showing up on Sunday, don't worry, your time will come. You'll get there. We're doing once a week, so it might take 5 years to catch up.
And you can nominate, man. You can nominate whoever you want. We got a post going on. These boys real good with them posts. You know what I'm saying?
And by in no means by any is it favoritism. We didn't pick our favorite one and go in order that way. So if you're number 2 next week, I did. It's in no particular order, guys. It's just we want to just share our appreciation of you guys for sure by highlighting you a little bit.
Let's see. We got Jeremy Blair saying, let's hope that the biggest news of the day isn't the punt god's 78-yard punt, although it was impressive. Man, we were just talking about this right before we came on air. I know the Bills put out a video of it, and they're like, no, this video is not edited. And it was like a serious, 5-second hang? Like, how long was
I
that
counted
hang time?
6.
From the video, I saw it start at 3 and start at the end, start at the beginning of 8. So that's 5 full seconds in the air. And that was, oh boy,
ridiculous.
I tell you what, yeah, you ain't kidding.
I love it, man. And that was one of the things with him, right? Coming in like, oh, geez, we don't know about his hang time. Like, he can boot it, but is it going to hang? It looked like it hung today.
I'm telling you what, if he gets the wind to his back and we can make it hang like that, I know a majority of it goes to the left, but every once in a while it will go to the right.
He's got to work on that right pull, huh?
We're talking about punt still, right? Punt?
Yes, I hope
okay.
so.
All right.
No, man, we got Ellen Lartz. We got Josh Williams. Breaking news, Allen is a no-show at OTAs. I think that's because he was getting ready for the match, which is going on tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Him and Mahomes is golfing against Mr. Rogers and Mr. Brady. He put out a really funny Instagram, Josh did earlier, where he was like, he cranked like this drive. It was ridiculous. It like disappeared into the clouds, but straight as an arrow. and he had some like technology behind him, and he like thanked whoever developed the technology so that he could actually track how he's gonna whoop on Rodgers and Grandpa Brady tomorrow. And it was pretty awesome.
What a great moment for Josh Allen, though, because I know Tom Brady was one of his. He was his biggest fan.
Yeah.
Growing up, so to be able to play in the same game as his idol and to play golf against him, that's freaking special. Maybe talk a little smack too. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's what he's looking the most forward to.
Okay.
Let's see. We got Joey Hatch. What's up, dude? We got Birdo, Buffalo Spartan.
This is Sparta.
Oh, sound effect too. Wowzer.
I was going to put my foot up and kick the guy off into the cliff, but the guy's not here and my foot can't get up.
I'll have to work on that graphic for you.
Okay.
Jeremy Blair, with that statement being said, Jeremy Blair said, "Put the guns away, Scooter."
Yeah, you know, it's a jersey that fits nice.
The sun's out, man.
Can I add quick to that? Scott's guns out. If you can notice, his right arm's unfolding, so he does tuck those in. He's also got the Ultimate Warrior tape on.
We got Debbie, we got Chris Christian, we got all you guys, man. We're cruising right up in the high 20s, looking to hit the 30s over on Facebook, and you can check us out on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, any and all that.
We're there.
You guys want to do a beer chug show?
When?
Coming up here?
Yeah,
Want to do it next week?
Sure. This
What
is
do you wanna
this is what we do. These are production meetings.
You want to do 45 or 50?
50 what? Chugs?
No, 45 at once. Viewers.
Let's
45?
I know
45.
what you're saying. Yeah, that's
All
fine.
right.
45
Let's do
viewers
45.
at the one time. We'll chug a beer right in front of y'all. Okay.
That's
Sounds
next
good.
week's show.
All right. Next week, if we get up to how many?
45.
25. All right.
45 at once. 5. All right.
All right. So if we got 45 viewers next week, we're chugging a beer. And you guys can chug along at home. Brent says he's digging my Bruce jersey. Thanks a lot, man. You got a lot of comments out here. I'm trying to hit all you guys quick before we go on. Patrick wanted to know if I'm going to do a live version of the Bill Shout song. I saw that message you sent, man. I got a little something that I'm writing for the intro, and it's not really the Shout song, but it's got a little bit of us in it. So, you know.
Do we have to be careful of copyright? Because we can always go, the Bills make me want to shout.
I promise all of you guys that won't be in it. Don't worry. You can do parody law. That would qualify for parody law, and you'd get away with that, no problem.
There you go.
As long as you're not making any money off of it, I don't think it's a big deal. So that's that. And that's Copyright Corner with Swank here on the K-Gun Report. Let's see, man. So many people, man. Thank you guys so much for hanging.
I'll be chugging MD 2020.
Well, you guys want to get going on this, or what do you?
Let me do this real quick first.
Sure.
Memorial Day weekend, raising the glass to have a drink to those that have passed, sacrificing their life for us. Memorial Day, we all know it's about those that have passed, serving our country, and God bless everyone that has and as still is. And cheers.
Cheers.
Hoorah. I said who because I forgot I didn't cut that whiskey.
Oh, we got our boy Robbie over on Let's Talk 716.
What's up, Robbie?
Guys, go Bills.
Robbie's got a nice little podcast going on in Twitter. I think he's on Facebook now, 716 Sports for sure. Check him out.
Check it out.
I think Pancho celebrated a birthday either today or yesterday too, so
Today,
I'll get one to him.
And
Happy
100
birthday.
days till kickoff.
Man, we got to cheers a lot of things. I'm going to be drunk before the show actually gets going.
Boy. Oh, yeah, boy. Raise one for Pancho, too. You're right.
Yep. Cheers, Pancho.
All right, damn it. So today, we want to talk about position battles, potential position battles here at this here training camp coming up here, Buffalo Bills football. Where you want to start, guys?
Let's start offense.
You want to go on offense? All right.
Yeah.
We'll do offense. All right. What do you think about running back?
Next.
Next.
Okay.
Just kidding.
In Mafia, Fandemonium, jump in as you will. Let us know what you guys are thinking. We'll take some of those comments for sure. But offense, position battle, I don't think it's for RB number one. Obviously, I think Singletary's the man. for the job. I just read something earlier today. I forgot that Moss actually in 2020 had more carries than Singletary did at the end of the year because Moss was about to take a spot. Moss got hurt in the playoffs. Singletary took over, had that offseason. He did train like hell, condition, and now he's obviously the legitimate starter, guys. And watch out for Moss this year, especially with that extra game and the improved offensive line. But I think the position battles for running back number 2. And yes, I know Moss and Cook both offer different things. Moss has more of the heavier running load. He puts his helmet down for the short yardage, whereas we all know Cook in college, he hasn't done it in the pros yet. Cook has a knack for catching the ball in the backfield. He can get outside the tackle. He's fast. He's elusive, and he can be pretty dynamic in this offense. But the Buffalo Bills, last I knew, carried 3 running backs and 1 fullback for the majority of their games last year. And if we're going to go ahead and make Singletary our number 1, Taiwan Jones our special teamers, and Reggie Gilliam our fullback, then that only leaves 1 more running back position. So that's either Moss or Cook. And that's going to be a very difficult task to handle, I think, as far as who you're going to activate for that 53-man roster. Unless they cut someone else somewhere else, I could see the Bills carrying that extra running back, but I can also see them sit according to what their game plan is per week. But I really can't see them using a second-round pick on a running back and not having him dress all 16 games. So it's going to be very interesting to see if there's, in fact, a battle to see who the legit number 2 is, whether it's third down back, whatever, or if they're just going to carry a 4th guy. But then we got to remember Duke Johnson's in there. So it's going to be a fun offseason, preseason to watch with those running backs back there.
Yeah,
Great problem to have.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I suppose you could go with this whole running back by committee kind of thing, right? Take a New England approach to things, which I'm fine with. But it's weird because I think Motors earned the touches, right? And I think Duke Johnson's proved himself other places before he came here. And I think you can't. How can you sit Cook, right? Like, unless he shows up in camp and he just can't hack it, like, and it's like very blatantly obvious. I really think Moss is the odd man out, and it sucks because I think Scott, you were saying like Duke and Cook are very similar, right? Like, I mean, Cook's more dynamic, but Duke's more like that catch out of the backfield, kind of like whatever, and Moss is the bruiser. I'd really like to keep all of them. And it'd be great to have that option, but like you said, if you activate all of them, who do you sit? You know, a lineman, like you can't do that. A wide receiver, you can't do that. A tight end, you can't do. Like, who sits so that you can have that one extra back that gets 3 touches?
Right.
I think what a lot of us Bills fans get stuck on is that guy who wears the C on his shoulder for special teams is Taiwan Jones. And he's back again. He's a special teams ace. But after we said it when they picked up James Cook a couple weeks ago, is the Bills getting James Cook automatically put Moss and Duke Johnson on that bubble, right? I think we all agreed on that. But we're not saying anything about maybe the coaches said to Zach Moss, hey, we're bringing in James Cook. He's a dynamic player. You're still our heavy running back, but we might need you to be our special teams guy now too. So there's a wonderful thing to have all these talented running backs in the backfield. And by season starts, they'll filter out who needs to start and who needs to be where. But I got a feeling that it's going to be Devin Singletary, number 1. You know, it's going to be Moss/Cook, number 2 and 3 dynamic duo coming out of the backfield. And I think they're still going to keep Duke Johnson, and I think Taiwan Jones might be the casualty because Moss might be able to play a special teams role. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I disagree with that, man. I think Taiwan Jones has a spot on this roster no matter what. I don't think they would have brought him back. I think, you know, especially with his age and everything, but he's just such a solid special teams ace. Like, there's a reason that he's been on the team and brought back, right? They let him go once and then brought him back.
100% agree with you, but I'm just saying that you never know what Zach Moss. I don't want to count Zach Moss out because we all like him, obviously, but he might be that guy who takes over that spot. And if Taiwan Jones hits that spot, we love him. He's there for a reason, and we want him to be there. But how are you going to figure this running back room out? And it's the decision I'm glad none of us have to make, but it's going to be fun to watch.
But we're talking about it, so.
But we're talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't like I said, unless something ridiculously wrong goes with Cook, I just don't think you can ignore him. You know, you drafted him that high for a reason. You could go with more of the same with Moss. And as much as I like Duke Johnson, man, I think you could cut both those guys. You can almost cut both of them, you know. But I just don't think – I think Motor's earned it, and I think Cook deserves his shot with as high of a draft capital as you put into him. There was a question here. Debbie Emerton. So
I was just going to say.
Yeah. Do you guys think Motor has hit his ceiling?
I do not. We saw the potential in Motor after the kind of offseason he put in last year because he knew his job was in jeopardy. And he's just, these guys are young. 23, 24, 25 years old is still young. And no, I don't think he's hit his ceiling. I think his ceiling is up there. If he could just get like 2 or 3 more carries per game, I think we'll definitely see him thrive in a season with 17 games. I think we'll see 1,000-yard season this year out of Singletary. That's because I think he's going to run the ball more. But I don't think we've seen his ceiling yet, only because he's still getting better. It's not like he's plateaued and we see the same Singletary every day. He's still getting better, and that all was happening at the end of the season. So you never know.
This Devin Singletary talk's been going on for a long time now, and you just got to break it down for what it is, right? He gets paid, I think, $980,000, right? That's his contract for a year. Again, caught 40 out of 50 targets, 870 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns, 4.6 yards per carry. Yeah, I said it. Devin Singletary is the best running back fit scheme.
Yeah, I said it. What you need to do is get back.
You know what I mean? In my opinion, he's the best schemed running back in the NFL. He does his job. He's there to get 10, 12 yards per or carries per game. He blocks. He catches out of the backfield, and he's getting paid minimum right now. My opinion, he's the best bang for your buck in the NFL. He deserves it.
They were talking about it on WGR with somebody that had called in. I don't know. I think it was some guy that was a beat writer for the Packers or something, but he was saying that Motor is just like, that average running back that like you can get through with and whatever. And I still think people are underestimating him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got much more to show other than what he's shown. I think he just has more of what he's already shown. I can't believe that people aren't more impressed with the way he runs. Mm-hmm. And they say this is the best offensive line that's been put in front of Josh Allen since he's been here. This line that they've put together for this year is the best offensive line. That also means that is the best offensive line that Motor's ever had to run behind, right? And once they got moving last year, we talk about it all the time, man. Like, he put up numbers. He changed his body in the offseason. He is a hard-running little dude. Like, and he'll crack somebody and just pop right up with springs in his feet at the end of it.
That pile's always moving forward. Swank.
Yeah. So, like, ceiling-wise, he might have hit it. But I don't think we've seen, like, the chunk, like the majority of what we should have seen, like, from a number one back as far as, like, if he had more carries, he would do more of the same. I got to think that he would be in a little higher standing amongst, like, the common NFL folk, right? Like, he's just kind of like one of those names nobody really cares about, but he is a hard-running little dude, man.
If you want to see a ceiling hit, let's look at the last 5 games of the season that he played. Yeah. If that's a ceiling and he rides with that, look for a 1,000-yard rush for the next 5 years.
Sure.
Those last 5 games of the season were crazy. Give him the ball and look what he did.
Joey Hatch, do we still have a running back on the practice squad? Mr. Williams.
He went to the Giants.
He did go to the Giants. That was Scott's boy. Mm-hmm. We liked him too, man. Every time he got his shot, he's a hard-running dude. I actually think I would have liked to see what him and Moss did side by side, because I think he could have edged Moss. But
I tell you what, I know a lot of Giants fans that are saying that he just came along for the ride because Dable brought him over. Don't be surprised behind Saquon Barkley, and if Saquon gets hurt, that Antonio Williams will be the starter by the end of the season. Guys, the guy, I thought he was a combination of Singletary and Moss, and we saw it in the Miami game. The guy has heart. He can run the ball. He can score touchdowns. Giants got a steal with him being obviously on the practice squad with the Bills, being released and sent to the Giants with Dable. I think they'll be fine there. They got good running backs there now.
Absolutely. You guys want to move on to guard?
Sure.
Can I read one comment from Rob Mullen really quick?
Sure.
There was a reason we made a concerted effort to acquire
Very
McKassick
good.
prior to the draft. Dorsey intends to utilize the running back position in space. And exactly, yeah, James Cook. That's why we got him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. It's a great point.
I said earlier a couple weeks ago that the McKissick signing and then going to get Duke Johnson, that's the style running back that the Bills were going after. And I believe that James Cook potentially was the number one running back on their chart, not Breece Hall, not Walker. I think Cook was their number one guy, and they got him in the second round.
Bada bing.
Bada boom.
Bada boom.
Speaking of bada boom, let's talk about some big old right guards.
Mm-hmm.
So what is this? What are we considering this battle, Scott?
It's a tough battle because we thought that the Bills, when they brought in Saffold at the left guard, were set there, and then they signed Bates and Bulker back, and we're like, okay, the line is good. And then a couple of weeks later, they go ahead and bring in David Casenberry, who can play left tackle, right guard, left guard. He could play it all. So now that I think there will be a battle at the right guard position, because I believe that what Ken Dorsey's doing by bringing in these two run blocking linemen, they potentially want to use the running backs a little more in between the tackles. So it'll be a good contest. And I'll even throw, because of the new coach Cromer, I'll even throw in Ford. I'll throw that in there for the right guard position. I think it's going to be a three-way battle. Bates has earned his 4-year contract to be here in Buffalo. He's been a utility guy for Buffalo, has subbed wherever he needed and succeeded. I think it's his position to lose, but look for a lot of reps for all three of these guys in the preseason to see who actually takes over.
Again, what a wonderful mess to have at the offensive line. The Buffalo Bills like to approach players that they can utilize on the whole front line. There's only one set spot, and I think Mitch Morse at center is it. But other than that,
I think
we'll
Deion
see.
too.
Deion Dawkins, right?
Deion and Spencer Brown. Jared, we're about to throw your little theory in the kibosh here, but it's okay.
And then who else? But what I'm
the
saying is
kibosh.
all those other guys can adjust and be moved around to fit into a scheme that hopefully before week 12, like last year, where everything started to mesh, hopefully they find it by week 1. So it's a wonderful problem to have, and it's going to be interesting to see how all these players fall into place for sure.
Jarrod and Swank. Tommy Doyle actually played some guard this past week in camp, so who knows? I like Cromer there. Cromer's definitely giving everybody options to see what will best fit this offense. And he's going to be a difference maker in that offense, because when he was coaching there, I believe it was 2015, Jarrod, at 16. I can't remember the exact dates, but that offensive line was a pretty good goddamn offensive line. I'm telling you that much. They were top 10 in rushing. I mean, they had the talent, they had the coaching, they had the schemes, and he finds ways to use a player to the best of their ability, which is slide protection, all these different protections and run protection. So I'm excited that he's there. He's going to be the biggest difference maker on that offensive line, I think.
Scott, Josh Cook's here and Rick Brown are here. Guys, welcome. Number 1 rushing offense when he was there in 2014-15. I think it's 14-15 or 13-14, but it was the number 1 rushing offense.
Okay,
not top 10. Number 1.
There you go.
Well, I mean, still top 10.
Yeah, it is technically. But that's another thing. He's gonna see stuff in players that he's coaching that it's gonna be like, listen, I see him here doing this, he's doing this well. Let's try him here. They got the offseason to try to figure out this whole mess. Wouldn't call it a mess, but this whole issue to see who's gonna fill in where and who's gonna be best where. And what a great guy to have as offensive lineman coach. And it's gonna be, like I said, I always say it. I think Brian's watching. It's epic. It's gonna be fun to watch.
Oh yeah, we got Mr. Van Syken here.
Epic.
Yeah, Mitch Morse was saying today he had a presser at OTAs, and they were asking about Cromer and how everything's going with the new guys, and he said it's fantastic. Saffold's been amazing as far as like working off of him. 2 vets trying to build this line and work off each other and get into each other's movements to know where the other one's going and how they're playing together, while learning from a new offensive line coach who's a very, very good offensive line coach, right? So he said everything's falling into place exactly where they want. He said all the young guys are really putting a lot in. I think you're going to see Ryan Bates start for sure. I think the spot is his to lose. And then maybe you'll get some rotation. I think really all that depth, like in my opinion, is just because of the injuries that happened last year, right? Like, I mean, between Feliciano and, there was just a carousel going on where they couldn't quite get it right until all of a sudden it got right.
It's funny how things progress, right? Because Bates was one of those guys who was supposed to be Mitch Morse's backup center, right? So no one ever thought that he would really see the field until Mitch got injured. And then other injuries set him up to come in and play. And then what a diamond in the rough, right? It's something where, oh my God, where was he? Why didn't we use him 10 weeks ago, right?
And now he signed a 4-year deal and he's with us for 4 years.
So I know, when injuries happen, they suck, but they also give opportunity to see other players rise to the top. And like you just said, Swank, it's going to be interesting to see these battles because we were able to see how they played last year. It's good. It's a good thing. Good things.
And anybody that doesn't make the roster in preseason, if God forbid anyone gets hurt for any of these other teams, we have trade bait. Moss can be trade bait. Cody Ford can be trade bait. There's a lot of trade bait we can use that we're not used to being able to have as Buffalo Bills fans. So that's
Ken O'Daniel just brought that up too. It'd be interesting to see what kind of trades happen if the season unfolds or the offseason unfolds with other teams getting injuries, so on and so forth.
I like this comment from Joey Hatch. If we don't see a significant change, Cody Ford will be gone too. I think Cody Ford his story is written. I don't think there's any trade bait to it. I think he's gone, man. And it's a shame. I think that would be the one that would be a fun show to do between now and when the season starts. Where we rank all of Bean's draft picks, like top to bottom, right? If you guys have any ideas, by the way, for any shows that you want to see or any conversations you want to have, hit us up and let us know.
By the way, next week's show, we're talking about the drought all-time offense, just so you guys know. I'll throw that out there.
Mm-hmm. So if you could draft a complete team based out of drought players, who would it be?
I already have my offense written down. We talked about this earlier today. So we had a lot of good players in that drought. They just never all showed up at once.
Yep.
Edder's here.
I saw it. I was gonna say it. Man, you just can't let this go. What's up, Eater? How you doing,
Eater's
buddy?
here.
What's up, stranger? Welcome.
Let's see. Jim Graham, this year will tell the tale on our running back situation. Yes, sir.
We only have 2 on contract after this year. Singletary's contract is over with, and Tywan Jones only signed to 1. So after this year, it'll be Cook and Moss.
Cook and Moss. I don't think so. Anyway, slot receiver. Here we are.
Oh.
So we got.
I tell you. Well, that's fine.
Yeah,
I had a weird feeling that Beasley was coming back this week for some reason. I don't know why. I just had the urge to say it, but
really,
yeah, for some reason I had a gut feeling.
Do you still think you're having a dream?
Maybe. We love Beasley.
Somebody slap him.
Buffalo Spartan says Lossman is his number 1 overall pick.
Beasley, come back.
Beasley, come back. That's great. I love that.
Well, you guys, I know that slot's going to be a dangerous position this year, Scott. What do you think? I don't know what to say right now, so I'm passing the off to you, Scott.
It's another great situation to be in. The Bills brought in Jamison Crowder, who we thought was going to be the replacement for Beasley. Isaiah McKenzie signed his 2-year deal for a great deal. Everybody thought he was going to get $8-9 million a year, and that didn't happen. And then we go ahead and draft a guy by the name of Khalil Shakir, who many are saying is the steal of the draft. PPFs had him as the highest ranked wide receiver in the draft. We've got a steal on this guy, guys. This guy can play in running back. He can play slot. He can play them all. So this is a great situation to be in. I do honestly think between Crowder, McKenzie, and Shakir that it will be McKenzie's spot to lose. But just the ability for Ken Dorsey, if he wanted to, he could put all 3 slot receivers out there and move everybody around and maybe put one in motion, figure out which one they're going to get the mismatch with. It's an awesome spot to be. Jamison Crowder, guys, is young, productive, proven on a Jets offense that was lackluster at best, and with a quarterback situation that has been similar to the Buffalo Bills in past history. And he still put up the numbers as a slot receiver that he did. I think he's an upgrade from Beasley. Isaiah McKenzie, guys, the proof is in the pudding with him. When he shows up and plays 11 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, when he's given the opportunity, he makes the most of it. And he's also taken contract-friendly deals both times he signed with the Bills. He loves it here in Buffalo, and he's going to do, honestly, if he's 4th or 5th, he's going to do whatever he's asked to do as that wide receiver because that's what he's all about. And apparently he's a jokester and hilarious in the locker room. And then you have that rookie, guys, that I am predicting that he will be potentially the starting slot receiver by week 13, 14, just because, you know, I think he's got the talent. I think with Davis and Diggs on the other side, this offense is good. It's even better than it was last year. And it's exciting. It's exciting to have these guys because we're going to keep 6, 7 wide receivers. Who do you get rid of? Who do you cut? That's going to be the tough part.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, man, I think I agree with Kevin here. I think Crowder is going to be the starting slot. I think McKenzie's going to have a similar role that he's had last year and the year before. And I love him. I think he's great. Like you're saying, man, the personality, the work ethic. He's a clown, but a hard worker. He's fast. He's serious, competitive. But I just think Crowder is like you just like to your point. He is a younger, more athletic Beasley at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of yak, which is something that the team is definitely focusing on this year, right? So I think it's Crowder's job to lose, but I don't think McKenzie's gonna let it go lightly. You know, it's gonna be an interesting competition for sure. And Shakir, like, let's see. You know, if we were going through wide receivers right now, if you're saying the team kept 7,
mm-hmm.
Who are they?
That's I got Diggs, Davis, Crowder. That's 3. I have McKenzie, Shakir, and Kumaro. That's 6. And I think the 7th would have to be another slot guy, a guy that can also play special teams in Marquez Stevenson. I see Isaiah Hodgins running out of time, and Tanner Gentry just not making the team. Those guys would be practice squad guys, but those would be the 7 if they kept 7.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. I was thinking Stevenson is the cutoff. Like, and, you know, it's weird because I think even with, like, Gentry's relationship with Josh Allen, like, that could go either way. Like, Stevenson would really have to, like, spark, I think, to stay off the practice squad this year. But anyway.
I mean, if you want to say between Kumaro and Gentry, it's between those two. But the Bills have a bunch of wide receivers on their team that could be multifaceted players. You look at Shakir, Khalil Shakir, he looks like Stephon Diggs, other than not playing in the NFL. Same height, same speed, same route run. I mean, he's a wonderful route runner. He's very dynamic. He can play the boundary just like Diggs can. So maybe he could be his backup. Maybe they can mix and match all of these players. Sure. They can mix and match them all. So it all depends on who they want, the 6 or 7 that they bring on the 53-man roster every week.
I think they should only put out 3 offensive linemen. Josh Allen can scurry around. You put out those extra wide receivers. You know, put like a 6 wide set.
I was just going to ask you both this question really quick. Because of all the talent and all the craziness we have in offense, I know when you're trying to select your final roster, you have so many people on defense you have to pick for each position. On offense, each position. But when you have a high-powered offense, do you tend to take maybe a player or 2 away from the defensive side just to add to that offense? Because not necessarily do we have a good core of defensive players on that side, but our offense is high-powered, no one can stop them. Do we pay attention to more of, let's see how much we can score and our defense can hopefully hold on, where we can keep a couple more offensive players? Or do you still keep it pretty even like you see year in and year out?
I think you got to respect the other team's offense, like, and I think it would be interesting to see, on average, what those 53-man rosters look like game to game. Yeah. I mean, they got to be damn close, but I would almost think that they had more defensive players than they had offensive players on those rosters, and especially with like that D-line rotation. Am I wrong?
There you go. Thank you for saying it. Nope, that's exactly why I was nodding my head. They rotate that defensive line so often. Guys, there's not a guy that had over 55% of the snaps. So that's interior defensive line. That's 4 players, 4 positions that are constantly changing. So it's almost like they need 8 there all the time. So I think the defense, I think they do have more players on there. And with what the Bills do with that defensive line, they rotate so much. They need to keep more people. They need to keep them winded.
Patrick Hughes says, no questions why Dorsey picked to stay as the Bills OC and not go to the Giants. Hell yeah, Patrick Hughes. And with that being said, I think we got to transition into the defensive side of the ball. It's a perfect segue. You guys are naturals at this. It's insane. Also, keep those comments coming in. We love hearing from you. We love your questions, all that stuff. If you're looking for stickers or shirts or anything crazy with your favorite 24/7 logo or Big Boot Babyface Bass sticker, get that sticker. That's so good.
Sticker.
Just DM us, man. Facebook's best. Any of our social media works. And yeah, man.
Yeah, regarding those FLX Mafia shirts that we have pre-order for. Pre-order is until June 22nd. That means we're just taking in special sizes in case someone requests, 3X, 4X, 5X. We want to make sure that everyone that wants one of those shirts gets it. So you pre-order. The orders will be sent out to who we get them printed by on June 22nd or around there. And then we have to just wait until the individuals, because he's a busy man, gets them printed. And then when we get them back, we will let you guys know and send them out as soon as we can.
Yep.
So pre-order means we got to wait until we get the orders in and then we'll send them out. But we will definitely keep you guys posted.
And that was pre-order explained by Jarrod Reed on the K-Gun Report.
Give us a wink, Jarrod.
Ding. Lady Bill says she'd like a large.
PM me.
PM, Mr.
The PM or
Scott
DM?
Reed.
DM, whatever.
It's DM. Slide into my DMs. All right, we're on defensive tackles right now. Go ahead, Scooter Magooter. Hit us with
Man,
it.
this is a wonderful place to be as well. The whole defensive line is revamped, guys. And before I go into the specifics of who I think the position battle will be, it's a defensive line. We brought in Phillips, we brought in Lawson, who combined had 16 sacks in 2018 and were part of a top 10 rushing defense. So I think we've gotten better front seven. I think we had to with the injury of Trey White. So it's all looking good. We all know Eddie O is fine. He's that D3 tech. He's at first defensive tackle, tech 3 position. He's got that locked down. Like I said, he's only going to get 55 to 60% of the snaps. It's the D1 we're talking about with a position battle between D1, the tech 1. It's either Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, or even Jordan Phillips. Jordan Phillips, a familiar face, obviously. Big guy, big hype guy, very high motor. And I mentioned it earlier. I think we're going to have a couple more personal fouls on this defense than we're used to, but good ones, not bad ones. Daquan Jones brings a veteran presence he's traveled around the league a little bit with Tennessee and Carolina. And I think it's a wonderful addition for the Buffalo Bills, but I am going to give the edge to Tim Settle. Guys, this guy per snap is a wrecking ball. Per snap is a wrecking ball. He's, I think 2 years ago, he got 5.5 sacks in the limited time that he had. He's playing behind potentially four of the top 10, 12 defensive linemen in the league for the Washington Commanders. They're full of first round draft picks, and they are dynamic. And he kind of fell behind them due to the fact that they're such high profile. Tim Settle, guys, is going to be one of those guys that we're going to be like, he's young, 24 years old. We got him for a couple of years. We're going to be like, holy shit, where did he come from? And I'm telling you what, guys, with his motor, his speed, and his aggression, put him next to Ed Oliver. I know we said last year that Harrison Phillips was the comp for Ed Oliver. We're going to have two freaking It 1 and It 2 Tasmanian Devils going at it between these two guys.
Ed had his calm time. Ed is nice and calm, and he came out in a fury, and I want somebody that's going to piss in his ear and get him fired up. And I think that's absolutely Tim Settle, dude. I'm so stoked on this take right now.
Don't underestimate Tim Settle, guys. You saw him during the conference when he was like, what else can I feel? And then he let out a big yell. He is pumped, and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, guys. That defensive line is going to be interior defensive line is going to be fast. The guards and centers aren't going to know what they're going to do against these guys, and it's just going to let Russo, Epinesa, Lawson, Von Miller, they're going to chow, and they're going to bring down the quarterback, and it's all going to be because of these two.
You said the common Oliver's ear. You said the common Oliver's ear. So we have Settle barking at him now inside with him. The calm came from the Rams this year. I think Von Miller is going to be the calm for a lot of that defense. But you can go crazy. Come to me
Fine.
if you have to be calm.
Dude,
That's a
look-
great thing to go to.
Look at those dudes they have on that line right now.
Yeah.
You have dudes that have a lot to prove. You have guys that left and are coming back with a lot to prove. People with huge personalities, people who know how this system works. And then you got somebody like Tim Settle who's coming in here with a huge chip on his shoulder, who the only reason that he got set aside was because you have one of the best defensive lines in the entire NFL in the Washington, what are they now? Football team? Commanders. Yes, the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love it. I love having that hype interior defensive line with like if you look at it, like really the interior defensive tackle position, they're all hot-headed, big personality guys right now, all of them. And then you have the calm on the edge, like Greg Russo, man, like Von Miller. AJ Epinesa, he gets a little, chippy and stuff like that. But, like, man, it's crazy to me. Like, you would think that's where you wanted, like, that tough, high-flying motor, mouthy, crazy personality guys. Which, I mean, Von is a personality, too. But I think your interior defensive line is just so nasty right now. And it's so, like, proven but unproven that it's going to be sick. Like I can't wait. I just can't wait. And
they're going to be so wild. It's going to be I think the biggest concern is going to be gap responsibility and defensive responsibility because these guys are so fast and so aggressive, and it's going to be fun to watch for sure. But I think the biggest thing might be just maintain your responsibilities, calm down. We'll get to the quarterback.
The big thing might be Lady Bill's favorite player there in Tremaine Edmonds, being right there in the middle. He's got to benefit from these guys up front being crazy, but he's also got to maintain his responsibilities too if stuff gets a little crazy. So he's going to be the guy to watch.
Joey Hatch, and when we rotate guys in and out on defense, there is no drop-off on that. They're all good defensive linemen.
It's
That's
scary,
right, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to recall what I saw earlier today. They brought up a stat about Russo. He played 41% of the snaps last year, and I think it was they were comparing big play losses or big plays at the defensive end position in his first year. And Russo had like 42, and the next one was Von Miller, and then you had two other high-end defensive ends. They were at 90% of the snaps, where Russo was only at 40%.
Yep.
So, oh man, Russo is just going to get big too, and that's nothing. Can't wait
Jarrod,
to watch.
Go ahead, Swank. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that's an interesting point. I know that this rotation has been a huge part of McDermott and Leslie Frazier's defense, but you hear Von Miller come in here, and he's not one of those guys that wants to be rotated in. You got Gregory Russo, who's producing and can be productive and is learning, and came in like he gained 5 to 10 more pounds like in the offseason of straight muscle, like looking to be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, And do you start to say, okay, let's tip these rotations on these ends one way or the other, the guys that are getting there, let's get them in, you know what I mean? And I get spelling them, I get doing what you're doing. It is working. You had the number one defense last year. Again, we've talked about it, the three of us. We don't know exactly how that's possible outside of like the secondary because the line didn't seem as disruptive as it could be. This year, the line seems like it's built to be disruptive. It's built to stop the run. It's built to get to the pass rush or to the passer. So do we start to see a drop-off on that rotation, you think?
You might. They may have had the rotation just to get these young guys their snaps, their experience, their rest, and their ability to learn from their mistakes and come to the sideline. You're resting this series. Look what you did. That may have been a plan the whole time. You never know. And Swank, you might want to hit this button very shortly here. Here's
it's
the number.
Okay, guys. I can get to it. You don't have to tell me.
Here's the number 73. Ready? Russo missed his whole last year of college. He was drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the first round and expected at 40% of the snaps to be productive, and he was. So he's got a whole year of NFL experience under his belt after missing a whole season of college. We have yet to see even close what Russo can do. We saw that tipped pass that he had against Mahomes and an interception. We saw him being able to reach out to the sideline because he's got that long length to stop the running backs from reaching the edge. The guy is going to be twice as good as he was this year. And the reason I say the magic number 73, the Bills are going to push that sack record that the Chicago Bears had in 1984 for 73 sacks. They're going to push that.
Name, I'm over the track. Yeah, I said it, but you need to.
Absolutely. Yeah, said it.
Hey, man, I'm all about it. I mean, we talked for years. Wow, that's weird. We've been doing this for years.
Crazy.
Third season of the K-Gun, everybody. Thank you guys so much. We've been talking for seasons now about how, pressures are just as good as sacks and all that stuff. And all that is true. But, man, I think we're at that spot right now where I'm saying I want sacks, man. Like, I want this team to live up to all the hype that everybody's pushing on them. I want them to come out and just bury teams. I want it to be an embarrassment. I want the networks to have to switch games outside of market because it is such a beating that they just can't stand to have anybody but Bills fans watch the games. That is what I want week in and week out all the way through to the Super Bowl. And I want it because we've never had it and because it's never happened, and it feels like this team is the team that deserves it. This fan base is the fan base that deserves it. I just want massacres every football weekend. I'd say Sundays, but we don't play a lot of Sundays anymore. So, damn it. I want. Jared's like, well, I got my taxes to do. But yeah, man. I mean, I want it. I want them to be brutal. I want them to still rush 4 and just smoke the quarterback.
That's the thing is with the 4 defensive linemen that they'll have, doesn't matter who it is. I could see all those guys creating the pressure that is needed to force a throw and to have our young cornerback excel because of what the defensive line and front 7 is providing for him.
Real quick, Patrick Hughes, week 2 against RB Henry will be the big test for our defense. If we can stop him, we can stop anyone. I agree, man. First 2 weeks will be a huge test.
Henry is a beast. We had a debate a couple months ago about Henry, how people were arguing about the 4.6 yards per carry wasn't anything for Devin Singletary, how he's not a good running back with that average. But King Henry only averaged 4.2 yards a carry. So,
and he got trucked by Lady Bill's boy.
Yeah, he did. So, I mean, that's a good thing. Good mention to bring up. He is a killer running back in the league, but he's got to rush 30 times to get that big one. And if we can keep him to 30 rushes for 1 big touchdown and we're scoring 50, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
All right, boys, let's move it on here. We got CBs left. You ready for this? What do we got? Scott?
Hey, Scott. Is Taron Johnson the CB? CB number 1 and number 2?
See, and that was a little bit of a discussion earlier this week on our Facebook page. We mentioned, and this was one of the fans on Twitter and Facebook, the poll we put out, cornerback was one of the position battles that they were most interested in. And the way I see it, Taron Johnson has been there for 4 years since 2018. I think he's deserved with his slot back, his play at the slot back, he's deserved the chance to try to at least be CB number 1 or number 2. So the battle, I believe, will be for CB number 1 between Dane Jackson, who was drafted in the 6th round a couple years ago out of Pitt, and he's played enough games where he understands that position. And I believe it's going to be between Dane Jackson and Taron Johnson. I do believe Taron Johnson has earned the right to at least attempt to play for that spot. I'm keeping Kaiir Elam out of there because I want Kaiir Elam to get used to that CB number 2 position. Because when Trey White comes back, you're throwing a lot at Kaiir Elam right now as it is. You're throwing a lot at him. And to ask him to be the number 1 is a lot. And then to ask him to move to the CB number 2 is a lot when Trey White comes back. So you put this guy, you make him familiar with CB number 2 and the responsibilities, which isn't a lot different than CB number 1. But you don't throw a lot of different looks at Kaiir Elam. You let him be CB 2. The number 1 position is what's the biggest battle right now. And you don't just give it to Dane. You don't just give it to him, and you don't just give it to Taron Johnson. Yes, Taron Johnson was a top 5 cornerback, nickel back in the league. But things have changed. Trey White's hurt. Something's got to give. They signed Sarah Neal to that deal. Why can't Sarah Neal play that nickel back for a little bit and Taron Johnson be that first cornerback, at least until Trey White gets back? So that battle is going to be interesting. Obviously, we don't know what Frazier and McDermott are going to do, but I think Taron Johnson's earned it, and I think it'll be a nice battle between Jackson and Taron Johnson. And practicing against these all-star wide receivers, iron sharpens iron, and they're only going to get better.
So you see it being Taron Johnson 1, Dane Jackson 2, or Kyer 2?
I see the battle being between Jackson and Taron Johnson. If Jackson does win the battle, then I see Johnson going back to the nickel.
So if Johnson wins, then Jackson's 2?
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay.
Or there's a
It's
lot
a weird
to take
shuffle.
in. There's
Yeah.
a lot to take in because I honestly, I did say yes to that. I think Kyer Elam's going to be number 2. So if Johnson wins the battle for that, Dane Jackson might be the nickel.
Scott, so what you're saying is Kyer Elam will be on the field.
Yep.
I think I see it as, and I think Kevin actually just put the yeah, I popped that up. It's kind of like I guess how I was feeling about it last year. Do you guys remember towards the end of last season where we're talking about like possibly moving Poyer here? He's played cornerback or this or that, and there's a lot of everybody was trying to figure out what they were going to do, and basically what they did was just keep it the same as it ever was, right? They moved Levi over, they put Dane in, and that was it. And Taron stayed where he was, and he held down what he does because he's a good slot corner. So I think for me, the least disruptive thing to do would be to keep Taron where he is, and then Dane out number 1 or number 2. I really think that it's him and Kyer battling for that number 1 spot right now. Because I think let's do this. What's it going to look like when Trey comes back?
Mm-hmm.
What's your dream team 3 corners out there?
Trey, Kyer, and Taron.
There you go, right? So I would say, man, let Kyer cut his teeth. He's going to be targeted a lot. But, I guess what do you do as a offensive coordinator, right, when you have a rookie on one side who was drafted in the first round with Kyer, and on the other side you have Dane Jackson, who was kind of unproven, did a good job last year, came and filled in and kept the team with him and Levi as the number 1 defense in the league, right? Was a part of that. So it has a lot of very good game time and knowledge and all that stuff. As an offensive coordinator, I guess you're leaning towards throwing towards Kyer, right? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Bomb out against Dane and see what happens, and then
I think you test the water with Kyer. I think you test the water over there. But then again, if you're testing Kyer, then you're throwing to your wide receiver number 2.
Yeah.
Do you take advantage of your wide receiver number 1 playing a Dane Jackson or Taron Johnson or even a Nick McLeod who's showing a lot of camp? He showed a lot of camp last year.
Yeah.
So it'll all be interesting. I think this is one of the most difficult decisions defensively because of the Trey White injury of where people are going to be located. But with how the Bills move players around so much, Bills will have to prove me wrong, and I've been proven wrong before. I'm not saying I know exactly 100% what I'm talking about, but I think Taron Johnson has deserved the chance to be a CB1 or a CB2 because honestly, they make more money than the Nickelback does. They do. Sure. And if Taron Johnson can, in the next years coming up, make more money because he's proven himself as a CB1 or 2, then he deserves that opportunity. Yes, he's good with the Bills at nickel, but like I said, Sarah Neal didn't sign a deal just to be a special teamers. I think he signed a deal to be potentially the nickelback if he has to be.
Both. I love both your takes. Do the fact, you hope Taron Johnson has the chance to prove himself at CB1 or CB2, and in your take, Scott. But for Swank's take, hey, Taron Johnson, you are nickel CB. You are a strong cornerback when it comes to it. That's where you're going to play. Get it down. Study it more often. That's where we want you. Don't worry about what's going on the outside. We'll figure that out. But you're the guy right here. So I love both the takes. And again, we all have our different opinions, but it's not our decision to make, and it's going to be fun to see what happens. But good takes for both of you. I love it.
Yeah. I think where we got into this last year was the offensive line, right? When they moved Spencer Brown down, and everybody was dogging him because he was playing out of position, and he caught a couple flags and stuff. But we were saying he's a rookie, he's playing out of position, blah blah blah. I think we were saying, like, basically, like, the more you keep the same, the less you got to focus on, right? Like, you don't have to worry about 3 people playing out of position. You only got to worry about 1 person or whatever. So, I think, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be the biggest question mark. Joey Hatch thinks they're still going to get a veteran corner before the season starts. They might. They don't have any money.
Right there with you.
Johnson is a willing tackler, but a true liability in coverage. No way he becomes our CB1 to start the season. That's Rob Mullen. Elam was a true CB1 prospect, picked to be our eventual CB2. Don't be surprised if he wins it until Trey gets back.
See, the advantage is a lot of people thought Levi Wallace was also sketchy at man-to-man coverage, and he had Boyer and Hyde over the top to save his ass, as we saw against the Patriot game. So if Taron Johnson could provide what Levi Wallace did, there's no big difference. I would just like to see the opportunity given to him. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to happen anyway, but I think he deserves it.
No, and I'm not saying he doesn't, man. I think you're absolutely right with it. And I guess there's another part of this, because I don't understand the inner workings of how all that stuff is. Like, is that something he even wants, you think? Like, I mean, I'm sure, right? But
we're not there.
Right. No, we're just fans talking about it. We don't know if Taron Johnson's like, hey, guys, don't worry about me. I will lock down that nickel position, and that's my position. Then, okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't know how different is a nickel corner from, like, a CB1 or 2.
Big time different. There's a lot of different zones. You'll step up sometimes in their 4-2-5. You'll step as a linebacker, so you'll have sometimes you have gap responsibility, outside edge responsibility. You'll see a nickel a lot of times has their head looking inside the quarterback more often than a cornerback who's focused just on the wide receiver. So there's a lot more that goes into it, a lot different zone reads, and they don't play a quarter or a flat. They have a lot more responsibility, it feels, as owning one side of the field. If they're playing like a man defense, they have to follow the guy across the field. It's a lot different. It's a lot different.
It's like a hybrid, basically, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, like between like a linebacker and a corner and a safety, like all those things, right? Yep. So I guess, and I wasn't posing that question as like, oh man, what do they do? But more as like, since that is so complicated and so multifaceted, and like comparative to like a CB1 or CB2, where it's like man or zone, right? Like, I don't know. Is it like, I didn't know if it would be skill set wise where he'd want to go in the NFL.
Yeah, the thinking is, would it be easier for him to go to CB? Because from the way you describe it is more responsibility. You have to be a little bit. If you watch Taron Johnson, he comes up and puts the stick on people when he hits. He's in there, right? So he's got that linebacker mentality. But you think, okay, if you take all that and you just say, hey, go to the cornerback 1 or 2 position, and this is all you need to do now. But then there's a different skill set that you have to have. So there's all these little itty bitty tweaks and little maneuvers and the way you move your hips and the way you press coverage and all that stuff that you have to have on CB number 1 that you don't have to have really on a nickelback type of position. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how they select who fits well in which position. Yeah. And it can be the littlest things. It could be a 4.4 speed compared to a 4.6 speed. So yeah, that's a good question.
And in the run game, those cornerbacks, if the defensive end can't set the edge and contain, then the cornerbacks are the last resort as far as the running back getting to the outside. They need to have the outside edge and make sure they force a running back inside. And if they force a running back inside and the linebacker gets caught up, your nickel back is the guy that's supposed to fill that gap and get the tackle in the backfield, which we've seen Taron Johnson do a lot. Yeah. So it may be because of Taron Johnson's tackling ability and his run against ability that they're not even going to consider that CB 1 or 2 position. But like I said, I'm going to stick by my guns and say, I think
man, no, that's what this is all for, man. You know, like, I don't know. It's just like, it's an interesting topic. I'm glad we saved it for
I think it's a toughest one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the most intriguing position battle that we're going to see as Bills fans, because our number 1 guy is going to be out October, November. We're hoping earlier, but we want him to be healthy when he comes back. So let's aim towards whenever they tell him he's ready to come back. But that's the biggest hole right now is that CB. CB1, CB2, who's going to play the nickel? Who's going to play the big nickel? It's going to be Frazier will handle this perfectly, and we'll see it on Sunday. Thursday, Monday,
that's a very
Tuesday.
Diplomatic response to this. So really quick, because we're running over, and thanks again for everybody hanging and with the comments, and hey, love you guys, man, so much. So bonus question here: Von Miller, defensive end or outside linebacker, defensive prototype. This beautiful image that Scott put together for us here. Scott did all these images, by the way, so give him a lot of props.
Hey.
He's been doing great on that. What do we think, man? Are the Bills going to just put Von at DE and let him rip? Or B, change up what they do that's worked so well just to accommodate a Von Miller? What do we think?
Hey, guys, it's funny that we talked about Taron Johnson just now because I think he was a big, important aspect to the run game. And the reason I am so hell-bent on putting Taron at the cornerback 1 position is because I believe that you might see from the traditional 4-2-5 defense that Leslie Frazier runs, you might see a 4-3 over or under. And what that means is the outside linebacker is either over the tight end or on the opposite side, on the weak side, over the tackle to create the mismatch. It's tough because I've seen Von Miller play both. He's an effective 4-3 defensive end, but he's also very effective 3-4 outside linebacker. And if they can play that over-under game schematically, he will have his hand off the ground, rushing that edge one-on-one, and I think that's a mismatch. So I think 6 years, $120 million, you're going to give – and he's not just going to get 40% of the snaps. I think you'll see him out there a lot. But I also see Leslie Frazier playing more of a 4-3 defense where he will be that outside linebacker, and then that's a whole other conversation, who's the DE number 2. But I think with that front 7 will make our defensive backfield that much better. And you want to confuse the hell out of these offenses and make their life miserable and the quarterbacks miserable. I think a 4-3 over and under will be the best defensive schematically for the Buffalo Bills.
So I don't mean to look too much into it, but we see all these videos of Von Miller teaching up Russo and the other guys. Why is he so involved with the teaching up? Why is there such a focus on that? Are they changing up defenses where the guys coming in are like, okay, what do I do here? What do I do here? And Von Miller's like, this is what you do. Are they switching it up? And it's proven in what we're seeing in these videos of Von Miller really getting educational with these other players?
I personally think that it's more just his time in the league, his time in the position, his time as a pro, as a pro's pro, as a pro bowler, a future Hall of Famer, right? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yep. First ballot.
I think it has a lot more to do with that than any sort of like scheme change that they're trying to implement at this point. Maybe he comes in and they think, Jesus, yeah, let's do it, or not. I think it's pretty obvious that both sides have a good argument if they want to argue, right? Von can say like, look, man, like this has worked for me the whole time I've been in the league. And McDermott and Frazier can be like, look, man, we're the number 1 defense in the league. I just think it can be so interesting and so tricky and so messed up. They're so good at disguising things. Can you imagine if they start to float Von all over, or like just pull him back, like Scott was like, pull him back out. Like, oh my God, he's not an end anymore. Now he's lined up and then no, he's not. He's come. You know what I mean? There's so much you can do, and I think literally what McDermott and Frazier want to do is open this playbook so wide open that quarterbacks have no idea what the hell is coming at them, and they're like very close to doing it. Minus they didn't have the D line to do it, and now I think they do, and now they got that star player that can not only put these numbers up and get to the quarterback, but also help all these young guys and be like, no, you're not doing that right. You got to do this and like whatever. So I think it's a lot more about just his time here than like committing to a scheme change.
Picture this real quick. And everyone close your eyes and imagine this, okay? You have
Let me draw your hair. Go.
With a 4-3 defense, you now have the best linebacker core in the NFL. You have who we think in Mr. Milano is the best outside linebacker. We have who we know is the best outside linebacker in Von Miller. You put him on the edge over the tight end, like he's going to come in and blitz on the same side that S3E11 is, who is an outstanding man-to-man defender. He's coming after the quarterback. Your offensive line slides left to protect that side. All of a sudden, Von Miller slips into the flat. Kaiir Elam covers his man deep. The shift has now gone to Von Miller, who's no longer there, and Russo's coming back from the other end to get that blindside quarterback for a sack fumble. It's just all these things that Frazier has the opportunity to do, not with just Von Miller blitzing, but just the fact that Von Miller has got his hand on the edge about to go over that tackle. Just his presence alone, I think, is very dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And again, with Kaiir Elam's man-to-man defense, that's what he's known for there, guys, is his man-to-man defense. And you lock down that side, it's all taken away because the slide coverage goes that way. It's
Scott,
celebration.
finish. Who picks up the fumble?
Who picks up the fumble? It's a strip fumble sack, dude.
Oh, anybody pick it up and go in for 6?
Russo picks it up himself and takes it in for a touchdown.
There you go. Okay, you got to finish that whole story. You
There you
left me
go.
hanging.
So it's just a lot. Where I'm going with that is there's a lot of different schemes. You don't have to blitz Von Miller. Just his presence alone and how dangerous he is can make that whole offensive line have to shift, make them all nervous, make the quarterback pay attention over there. I'm just saying.
I'm intrigued by two things with this. We got Matt Milano's twin brother. We got Matt Milano's Jarrod Reed in the draft, right? Like, so you got two dudes that are like got very similar skill sets. Matt Milano, who I think is still an underrated linebacker in this league.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about Jordan not getting the respect that he deserves. Matt Milano gets no respect, like absolutely zero, and he is like what, top 5 cover linebackers in the league, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, and now you drafted a guy that's exactly like him,
Terrell Bernard.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we love Tremaine, and that's fine, but can you imagine a package against Mr. Patrick Mahomes, who just came out last week during OTAs and said you're going to see a lot more spread formations from us?
Thank
right?
you. Yeah.
Great, fine, whatever. What if you got 2 Matt Milanos, you got a Kaiir, you got a Trey, you got Taron Johnson, and then you got your line and a Von Miller? I don't care who the hell you're spreading out. It does not matter to me. And you don't have the fastest guy in the NFL anymore.
Yeah, you just got rid of your fastest guy.
Go ahead. Please spread them out. That's the way I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we talk a lot about how Vaughn interacts with the ends. What about Tremaine? I mean, we forget. A lot of us forget. We don't on this show. But Tremaine is so young.
Mm-hmm.
And his best football is still ahead of him. And he is a specimen. And we know Lady Bills wants to marry him and all that stuff, and that's fine. But, what about that relationship? Because there's a lot of potential there, man, that Vaughn can really help somebody like Tremaine Edmonds maybe find his niche. Vaughn did. And a lot of people, like you said, they'll consider him a defensive end over an outside linebacker, depending on whatever scheme you're in. But there's something to that, I think. Maybe Tremaine isn't meant to be where he's at right now. Maybe he's meant to be doing more of a Von Miller role, because when he does rush the quarterback and he gets home, it's serious business.
Yep.
So a lot of possibilities.
You're right. I mean, he's played into the league for 4 years, and he's only 24 years old, very young. And Mark Maddox, who's been a friend of ours, been on the show plenty of times. He believes that once he starts gaining weight and understanding the game a little more, he'll be one of the most dangerous inside linebackers in the league. Give him time. I know we've given him a lot of time, but he's young, guys. 24 is still young.
Hell yeah.
Patience, young man.
All right, fellas. What a show. What a time.
I had fun.
I had a lot of time. A lot of time, a lot of fun. A lot of times and funs.
Good times. Good times.
What do we got for final thoughts here?
I'm sticking to the Memorial Day thing. Too often people get caught celebrating, and some people even confuse the people that are currently serving. It's a memorabilia. It's to remember in memory of those that passed that give sacrificed their life. And it's a big weekend. It was a big weekend. And I know we said our prayers. We said a little prayer at dinner to those that have sacrificed their lives for our freedom. And we wouldn't be able to do this. We wouldn't be able to go to games, celebrate the way we do without those sacrifices. So prayers to the families, and God bless everyone. And thank you, America.
Jarrod.
My final thought goes a different direction. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. There's 49 individuals on the NFL Hall of Fame committee, and I know they're all listening right now, but we have Jim Kelly in the Hall of Fame. We have Andre Reed in the Hall of Fame, Thurman Thomas in the Hall of Fame, James Loft in the Hall of Fame. But there are a couple individuals that you don't hear much about that aren't even in the Hall of Fame, are the guys up front that led this offense each and every year to the Super Bowl. You have your Glenn Parkers, your John Davis, your Kent Hall, your House Howard Ballard, Reuben Brown, Will Wolford, and John Fina. These guys have been a staple to this offense for the Super Bowl years and even after with the playoff pushes. It's time to get some of these offensive linemen in the Hall of Fame, and they need to be recognized because everyone behind them is in there. So take note. Take these guys under your wing, vote for them to get in there, and also Steve Tasker. Go Bills.
Very true. It's crazy to know that with the all scrimmage purpose yards leading rusher and with the offense that the Bills had at that fast pace and all that stuff, they still destroy teams every year, and none of their offensive line are in the Hall of Fame. Swank, go.
I did miss a couple, but those are the guys who were there for the core years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I want to say thank you guys for being so good to us, man. And thanks for being a great group of people and keeping Tuesdays light and fun and informative. Me and the boys very much appreciate you. If you haven't heard it from us in a while, it's because you're not listening. No, I'm saying it now, man. And we try so hard to like make sure you guys realize like how much this means to us. So thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who's an OG or a new member. Thanks to everybody who's going to tune in next Tuesday at 8 p.m. for the K-Gun Report, Season 3, Episode 12, where we're talking about drought era draft. What is your dream team from the draft era or the drought era that would make it so that it wouldn't have been a drought? You know what I mean?
Is it offense only or defense, Scott?
We'll do offense only. The
Offense.
next
We're
we'll
gonna
do
do offense
defense.
and defense, yeah. So it'll be a two-parter. You can check us every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here for the K-Gun Report on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Wow. I'm working on catching up all the episodes. I think I'm getting somewhere. You guys can check them out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. And hey, tell your friend, tell your grandma, don't tell your ex-wife. She's probably a bitch. And you know what, man? Thanks so much. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. That's right, Paul Rossi. I'm bringing it with the clean Bruce jersey on.
This is a dangerous group.